y'all, and welcome to week 4 of Flourishing in the Garden. So this week we're going to focus on the heart chakra, which is also related to the air element. And so this space really encompasses, again, as we're working with the heart, it encompasses compassion and love, how we can, the earlier weeks are really focusing on that stability and kind of our internal workings, and the heart space asks us not only to focus on the internal and the self-love, but also how we can start to open up and share everything that we've kind of built to this point with the world. So last week we touched on our values, and so in this week we're gonna look at our strengths, but also what we love about ourselves. And so those things, once we can get clear, we have our values that we've picked last week, and once we can get clear on our strengths and the things that we love about ourselves, then we can start to work towards our purpose and our greater passions in the world so that we can share that with others. Because that's what makes people come alive, and that's what inspires people, is when we can be in touch with those things. So again, the heart space, and then the air element, the quality is kind of associated with the air. It's definitely lighter. It's, we talked about with the water element how there's flow associated with that. And in this air element, there's still flow, but it's a lot lighter. It's not as dense as water might be or as forceful. It is a little bit gentler. We can notice the air element, in a cool, gentle breeze, but we can also notice it in, weather, in pretty intense weather. And so the winds, while they can be gentle, they can also be forceful. So just again, thinking about that, and the air, it can help to kind of move through things as well. So yeah, just keeping those in mind while we're in this heart space working with the air element. So our postures for this week, we will start by finding our way to a comfortable seat. We have 2 for this week, so we'll start with Anahata Kriya, and then we'll do a forest of trees, which is really fun and nice to, again, build that community and usually some giggles. But let's ground here with our Anahata Kriya. So Anahata is the heart chakra. That's the Sanskrit for it. And so in this Kriya, we're imagining, and a Kriya is just a flow, a continuous movement. And so we'll start to ground through the hips, just imagining, again, that foundation here. And then we'll start to bring the upper body around the hips. So the hands can either rest on the knees to kind of support as we're moving forward, and then out to the side and back. And these movements can be really slow and subtle at first. So just gentle, we're kind of starting to collect feedback on how the spine is feeling, how the lower back is reacting to this movement, maybe how the hips are feeling here. And then as you start to kind of work into it, we can start to expand this movement. So starting to bring these circles a little bit wider. Maybe we really come forward and find that flexion. Roll it out. And then maybe the knees even start to lift as we come back. And so another variation, we can always bring the arms out wide for this. We can even really start to embrace that air element and actually float the arms around here. And so that's an option too, to find more kind of stretch and opening through the heart and the arms. And so it can be nice to place one hand down as we get towards that side for stability, or we can keep them both up, kind of blow around. We can even just stand here and come side, or sit here and come side to side. And then we'll find stillness, maybe tuck the chin. You can either drop the gaze to the ground or close the eyes. And just noticing sensation in the body. Allowing space to just listen and notice. we'll take that Anahata Kriya on the other side. So you can start to bring it around the other direction, so whichever way you didn't go last time. And again, starting small, just small little circles here, and as you start to get that feedback from the spine and the lower back and the hips, maybe gradually starting to grow that movement a little bit wider. And then again, if you want to work in to the arms, maybe we reach the arms up overhead and come into it like that. Maybe both arms come up and kind of bring around. We can also bring the hands into the heart space and take a mudra here where the fingertips touch and the palms are kind of open underneath. And so this mudra will help to kind of send the energy out from the heart space. So we're just kind of taking it in through the palms of the hands, and the fingers are kind of pointing it out towards the world. So we can also take that here. And then finding our way back to stillness. Again, taking a couple breaths here, just noticing sensation. And then we'll gently start to lift it up. We'll take it to a standing posture. We'll find our mountain pose, just to ground here for a few breaths. And as you come to your mountain pose, again, remembering the foundation. As we're cueing here, we'll always start with the foundation. So for this posture, our foundation will be the feet. So maybe you rock forwards and back. Start to notice the four corners of the feet. And then just grounding through the feet, noticing how we can start to have that gentle engagement here of the quads. And then the hands can either rest in towards the legs, or they can turn slightly out. And so as the palms face forward, we'll get a little bit of external rotation in the shoulders, which will help to send the heart forward. And then as we come into that, just checking back in with the pelvis. So seeing if we can find neutral, if we've come out of that. And so our neutral pelvis will gently tuck the tailbone. And it's that point where we can start to feel a slight engagement in the lower abdominals here. And so that's going to help to protect the spine and just support our body as we're standing here in our mountain. And then to make our way to tree, we'll ground through the right leg as our foundation. And so a couple options here. We have options to bring the heel to the ankle with the toes on the earth, or we can bring the foot up to the calf or up to the thigh. And so we want to avoid the knee because that puts lateral pressure on the knee. So we'll stick to either the thigh or the calf or the ankle. And so once you're here, we'll start to guide this leg out. So tree, while it is a balancing posture, it's definitely a hip opener as well. So as we start to come here, we can even self-assist and bring that right hand to the right hip. The left hand can come to the leg, and we can kind of draw out. Just noticing that opening maybe here. And then from there, we can either bring our hands to heart. Again, we can find that mudra where the fingertips rest together. The palms are open to send love out. for a little bit of grounding and to turn that love inwards, we can rest the hands, one hand on top of the heart, the other can follow. And then the forest of trees, which is one of my favorite postures to do in a group, would be to have everyone stand in a circle. And I usually like, when I'm teaching groups, I typically like to have a circle if I can. And I don't stand in the middle. I will stand in the outside of the circle with everybody else. But as we're in the circle, you can start to turn your branches or your arms out to everybody else in the circle. And so from here, it's a really great opportunity, again, for some giggles, for some laughs. You know, people might start to kind of lean on the trees next to them, but also a great practice that we need each other to move through our lives. So sometimes we need support, and sometimes we can be the people that are supporting others. So it's a really great little activity, some team bonding here. So we'll bring it back. In the transition, I kind of like to cue either, any kind of movement in between, bending the knees. You can also bring it around town, which, if anyone remembers that reference, is from SpongeBob when he's like, bring it around town. And that just makes me feel old because kids don't really know that anymore. But anyway, you can bring it around town, just kind of shake out through the hips. And then we'll come to that tree pose on the other side. So we'll ground here through the left leg. And then options to bring that heel to the ankle, toes on the earth. We can bring the foot up to the calf or up to the thigh. So again, finding your variation here. And then options to start to self-assist, and you can take that left hand to the left hip. The right hand can come out. Just start to open up. And then again, taking any arm variation of your choice here. And if you're cueing forest of trees, maybe the arms come out. And so another challenge would be to have the group raise their arms up on an inhale and exhale and sync together. So that's also a really fun little challenge. And another cue that you might share with your group is a focal point. So trying to find a point that's not moving. It's called, in yoga, we call it our drishti or our gaze. But it's something that we can look at that is still to help with our balance. Of course, there's a lot of other ones. I've heard you can hold your belly button or hold your tongue. Not sure how those really work out, but those are options too. That could be a fun little tip to offer. But in yoga, we do use that drishti or a focal point to support our balance. So, well, that's pretty much it for week 4 for those postures. So thank you all, and I hope you have a good week.